We are YOM. We were founded to solve the two hardest challenges to cloud gaming, cost and speed. Our solution was to build a decentralized GPU network focused on eliminating latency and drastically reducing costs. This is what we've done. YOM has built the first game-focused decentralized network that allows AAA games to be playable on any screen through your web browser. We now have the technology on which to build the 3D internet, with immersive e-commerce, 3D social media, virtual events, and so much more beyond cloud gaming. Come find out more at www.yom.oo. We are YOM, the game-focused decentralized network empowering the world's creative future.
Hello. Welcome,
Hello,
everyone. Hey.
Look how nicely organized your
So,
backgrounds are.
What?
Sorry,
So look how nice your backgrounds are all nice and organized, and mine's this big hodgepodge.
I like it. It's colorful.
Yeah. Yours more real.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Immersive Internet. It's our second episode. Today we have a very special guest, Juan from Metatheory Studio. And we're going to talk about, the metaverse or the immersive internet. And of course, the term, it changes a lot. So that's also what we're getting into today. A little bit background on myself. I'm the founder of YOM. The last video showed, what we're building at YOM. Been working on that for a couple of years. Recently, a few months ago, we got a reboot or a restart with a great new team, including Jeff. So maybe that's a nice bridge to you, Jeff.
Yeah, hi everybody. If you don't know me, I am the CXO, Chief Experience Officer at YOM. I came on board from after 24 years of video game experience. I came on board YOM itself as a infrastructure play more than as a gaming play, but we're teaming up with studios like Metatheory, and that brought us to Juan, who's going to talk about his studio today and some of the. But we're really going to talk kind of more broadly about what this, when we say 3D internet, the coming 3D internet evolution or revolution, when we say that, what does that mean? That's kind of what these meetings are all about. So I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah. Hello, guys. I'm very, very excited to be here today with the YOM guys. I'm Juan, and as Dan and Jeff said, I represent Metatheory. We are an immersive games studio. We have developed over 60 projects. I think in total we have done like 400,000 square meters of metaverse development.
Nice.
And yeah, today we're going to talk about some very, very interesting things. So yeah.
Where do you want to start us off, Daniel? If you're sure to run.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to talk about. I think this is something Juan suggested, in preparation to this event. To talk a little bit about, what's the definition or our definition of the metaverse or immersive games. So maybe we can go into that, and then also add to that, why does the metaverse go, to constant rebranding, and then we can go into,
definitely
different use cases, the industry.
What is the metaverse for you? Like, do you have like a definition in your head, or can you like throw out one just like on the go?
I started the LinkedIn group, back in January 2022, and basically what I wanted to experience is like what the metaverse is right now, and basically how I experience. I just really look forward to, meeting up as avatars. So doing social stuff in 3D worlds as our avatars. Yeah, that's basically how I see it. A persistent, a network of 3D worlds where you can jump from one world to the other, that's also something I really enjoyed, doing doing with the group. Some tours where we did world hopping. So that's basically, when that becomes easy, because now when you organize it, it's quite a hassle to get people in those 3D worlds. It's not accessible
Yeah.
at all. Um, and
Mm.
and I think the precursor of that is what we're seeing right now. These persistent social virtual worlds. You see that now at platforms like Roblox and Fortnite and other similar platforms. So
Yeah.
I think that's the precursor to the metaverse.
And for you, Jeff?
Well, I still like Matthew Ball's definition that he has in his book, which is behind me. I thought that he had it pretty well thought out. I mean, obviously, a lot of time spent on the idea of interoperability and persistence and scalability. All those things made sense to me when I read the book. But I think what Daniel's saying is probably correct. Like what he was presenting to us was probably like step 12 of a 12-step system to get to that endpoint. And I think that I feel like right now we're still maybe in step 1 or 2, maybe even step 3, where we're starting to get those
Oh yeah.
start be that way.
Yeah.
I feel like some of the initial forays into the space were trying to hop too fast to step 12 or maybe 11, the way that he outlined it there, and not recognizing the necessity to kind of move slowly and go meet people where they are currently before moving on to the more deeper versions of it. Which I think is fine for us because we're learning as we go. The whole space is about being anti-fragile, right? I think the earlier versions of it, they're trying to jam in Web3 and blockchain immediately, which I don't think you necessarily need to do, though it can be helpful, but it's not necessary from the beginning. Same with VR. I think that probably you'll end up, but I don't think it's the starting point. I think we want to be where people are currently, which is in the browser, inside of games. So I think the first step is just making games enabled to a wider audience. The way that we're doing it is through a web browser, and then making those games interoperable. So that gets that part of the metaverse built, and then putting in transactional and constantly running those kinds of things. But how about you, Juan? How do you do it?
So I think that I started working like immersive games or metaverse. I think it was like 5 years ago, with the Sandbox. I used to work at the Sandbox game. And I think I've seen, I don't know, 10 definitions of the metaverse. Most of them are what we want it to be in the future, and some of them are actually accurate. Like I've seen definitions like future internet, virtual reality universe, I don't know, like digital spatial environment. For me, it's collective virtual. It's like a collective virtual space where you can create, engage with others, and yeah, it's that's what it is right now. But I do know that there are plans for bigger things. As we discussed yesterday, why do we think it goes, the metaverse concept goes through constant rebranding? Because, you guys are calling it the immersive internet. I call it immersive games. Some people call it metaverse, which I think that we are leaving that concept behind because it's associated to not something very appealing. At least that's what I sense when I talk with people, and that's what I see actually. Because if we weren't living that concept, this wouldn't be called the immersive internet. It would be called the metaverse. So yeah, and I think that it's a good thing that we're leaving behind that concept, because we have we have done like a big idealization of the metaverse, because we have been so bombarded and inspired by science fiction that all of the concepts that we grasp on, we immediately associated with bad things. But for me, honestly, the immersive internet or immersive games, it's just another great platform to create economies for people to engage even more than what they are doing right now, for companies to reach audiences that they can reach right now. It's a great opportunity, and I want to ask you guys, why is it that you think that it goes through constant rebranding? Why is that?
Well, I think you already said it. I think that we had this ideal put into our heads by the science fiction, by the Ready Player One, which is a great book and great movie, and it put an I think it gave an unrealistic timeline in people's heads. Again, that we're going to jump right into tactile VR suits and a treadmill and the heads and the VR headset and that, and then of course Facebook came in and tried to claim the name themselves, and I think that didn't do the whole process any kind of justice. So I think a few misstarts and mismatch of expectations probably hurt the term, and people kind of groping around for what's the replacement term, or well, I don't even know that I would call. Well, when we say the 3D internet, I'm not sure that we're necessarily trying to call that the metaverse in its final form. We're saying that it's a step towards what the eventual metaverse will be. But I think your first, again, and you can see it in the chats over there too, that people catching on. It's about going where people are currently and providing them with an experience that that takes them beyond what they currently have, and then a step towards the metaverse step. Daniel,
Yeah.
how about you?
Well, a cynical view would be, of course, a rebranding. When the idea that doesn't get much traction, then you create a new name and then try to get people excited about that. Yeah, I think the vision, Mark Zuckerberg presented end of 2021. It was just too abstract for too many people, maybe, because I don't know, he showed so much, so I think, and then you get a lot of companies, using the term for their own purposes, so what I've seen a lot were, for example,
Yeah.
crypto games calling themselves metaverses, or so everyone, or or VR stuff or VR application is a metaverse, and of course now these other platforms, right? Roblox, Fortnite, are they the metaverse? So a lot of people, yeah, it's hard to grasp. And then of course you have
Yeah.
Apple, introducing a term like spatial computing and then making it closer. This is what we discussed as well at the last our last event.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is funny to me is that the most successful metaverse platforms don't call themselves metaverse. They call themselves their own name. So Roblox is Roblox. It's not Roblox Metaverse. It's Roblox, and they refer to themselves as Roblox. Fortnite's the same. And I think that with this concept being so early in this, like in this industry, everyone's trying to, like, all the big companies are trying to get a hold of it, because of course, since it's going to be the next big thing, you want to be the owner of the next big thing, right? And corporations want that. Like, I don't know, Disney investing in Epic like $1.5 billion to create the persistent universe. That's like their new the Disney concept of the metaverse, like a constantly evolving universe, where people can do basically the same as they have been doing in other metaverses in the past. But of course, I imagine with $1.5 billion, you can create a very nice UX, UI, and a very, very A plus A game, let's say, right? It's a lot of money.
all right, so yeah, I'm looking at the comments as well. So maybe I can go into that a little bit. So Ian Harrison says, when I read quote unquote metaverse these days, I hear enhanced internet experience.
Yeah.
I'm seeing interoperable assets in gameplay is a huge step, towards this vision. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
and that's that's what it is. Right now, there are a bunch of platforms that are extremely successful. For example, as I was mentioning, like Roblox, that in 2023, I think they averaged like per day 70 million users. It's a lot. And I think that it added a lot of value to the immersive industry, because at least for me, so I'm from South America, and developing games here is kind of hard because, of course, to develop a game, you need a lot of money, right? And these platforms, I think that they created the opportunity for game developers that didn't get a chance to have to develop games because maybe they couldn't like get funding, or they couldn't even get a team. And for game developers, like these platforms have really opened doors, because maybe you start developing a game in Roblox, which you can do it like by yourself, alone in your home. You don't really need to like study even. You just do it. And for that, I've seen like a bunch of studios that started developing in Roblox, and now they are developing like more complex things. So I think that these platforms and the immersive internet like is doing a lot for game developers also. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
I thought let's play a video of you guys of Metatheory.
Yeah,
I think it's
that's
What are we seeing here?
That's a Roblox mansion. That's a Roblox mansion. Yeah, it's live right now. I think it's very 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 beautiful. Yeah, I would also like to discuss. I grew up with Jum Jum in Mexico, ice cream band. Okay, current. Yeah, I would also like to, since we're talking about really nicely about the metaverse and immersive games and whatever, but I would also like to talk about the downsides, so we can be honest. Yeah. Well, for you guys, what's like the biggest downside of the metaverse?
Well, again, I think when you looking at Roblox and Fortnite experiences, they're open world games, right? But then to call them the metaverse, I think is just conflating the term. So as an open world game, and some of the other, not just the Roblox and Facebook, Fortnite ones, but I'm thinking more of the other earlier versions of what brands tried to do. Several brands tried to launch, a 3D experience on their website and call it a metaverse. But they missed out on a lot of the reasons why people go to these experiences, right? They've made them interesting, but not sticky or fun, right? Or engaging. The term get used, different terms get used. But I think that when we talk to studios about trying this again, or if they're going to try it again, or if they want to move into the space for the first time, we talk often about the experience has to be of the type that's engaging and brings people back. It can't just be a clever thing that they visit one time, which I feel like a lot of them had done. So we were talking yesterday. The way that I equated it is I spent a good chunk of my time working in educational games. And the studio that I worked at the time, we really had the philosophy of make sure that the game was fun, more importantly than just doling out educational information. Because if the games weren't fun, the kids weren't going to come back to the experience. And if they don't come back and repeat learning, they're not going to actually absorb the information. And I feel like it's the same thing when we talk about branded experiences or these metaverses. It can be fun to be in a world for a little bit, but if there's not a reason to a game loop that people come back to and enjoy, then they come one time and witness it and then walk away. Now, again, I don't know about these spaces here. Or, again, I've seen some really nice experiences inside both Fortnite and Roblox, which I think is a great place to start. But I think in general, that was one of the downsides to the first iteration of these metaverse spaces, is the game loop wasn't there.
Yeah, totally. I think
I
that,
also,
the other day, oh, sorry. No, I was going to mention that the other day I was jumping into Roblox experience for a big clothing brand that a friend studio developed. Yeah, I see a lot the lack of incentives that users can face in experiences in the immersive games realm, because of course it's hard because you have like huge space, right, that you need to fill up with actions and objectives for the users to go through the path that you want them to go. But usually it's not very well, the game mechanics and the game loop are not very well executed. If you go into a space and like all you can see is a lot of lights, and like very everything is very visually appealing, of course, I'm not sure you're going to know where to go, how you're going to go through the game, and that's very frustrating for users. And that's a very common issue that immersive games face.
It's true though. You said yourself that they make these really big environments, but a really big environment with not a lot of people showing up, and it's in the comments too, ends up being a pretty boring experience. And the other thing, if you don't constrain it in space, and then also sometimes you have to constrain it by time, have it only open for certain events. If people show up, if you can crowd the space, you're going to have more interaction with other people. That's going to be more interesting. But or again, give them a I say game, but it's hard to. Not everyone games, right? Or some people get frustrated. I don't mean like a Twitch game or something that you have to have a fast reaction time to it. Game like even party games like Pictionary, right? Or can't really do charade, but you probably could do a charades type of thing. But the kind of games that you play when you get together with your friends in the living room, that's the kind of things you'd expect to see in a metaverse that, again, make it engaging, give people a reason to have a conversation or something to converse around. All those kinds of things. But like you said, Juan, if it's a massive space and you're having a hard time just even bumping into somebody, then that's not going to be engaging either.
Definitely. And also what I see a lot is like we are forgetting about the basics of gaming. You need to be interested by the progression that you can have in the game. Like you need to be able to reach a certain level and be rewarded by something. You need to be able to show off what you were rewarded with, because if not, you're missing out on one of the most important things of a game, which is like getting something in exchange. You're dealing with human emotions when you're developing a game. You want people to feel things, and if you create a very beautiful like environment, yeah, you're going to jump in and say like, hey, this is very beautiful, but what do I feel apart from this? You need to focus on the gaming part. It's very, very important.
We call the gaming loop the challenge, succeed, challenge, learn or grow, and then get reward for that growth, right? And then get challenged again at a higher level. So you want to feel like you're progressing. It can sometimes progressing through a level, but also just progressing in your skill set. We had one of the projects I worked on was just a simple synthesizer. You can make music just as a group activity. There was a soundboard, and you'd add a sound that would go to a beat, and then someone else would add a sound, and you'd always feel like when the music was really good, you'd feel like you were progressing as a team. And again, that's not it's a game, or it's a game experience, but the real trick was getting people to feel like they're advancing, getting them to save their progress and then get rewarded for progress. Daniel, I keep talking over you. I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the comments. So some people are challenging this idea. We're talking a lot about gaming. I'm just looking at the business opportunities, right? So this is where brands are putting their money in, and seeing ROI at these gaming platforms. But it's also interesting, a lot of people are mentioning platforms like VR Chat, Rec Room. I also love these platforms. Helena says, I've been in Second Life for 19 years, active at least once a week. I've never played a game. So people are talking about, not just the socializing. And this is also my experience before, with a platform called Altspace. It was very satisfying to put up a cool world, and then just hang out with people.
But she also says, if you look at the
everyone-
second comment,
yeah.
well, she also
Mhm.
added, right, is that this creativity aspect to Second Life. And I would say games, I could loosely I would loosely also add creative endeavors, that music experience I was talking about, as a game, because again, you're doing something and feeling like you're progressing, getting better at it, and you get a reward from it, even if that reward is people looking at your stuff and saying, hey, this is really cool. So again, game is a very wide, in my definition anyway, game is a much more wider than something you just like win a race and get a trophy for.
Definitely. Like, I used to play a game called Habbo, which you just like, the idea of it was just hanging out, like in a social hub, and like living a life, buying pets. I used to play a game called Pet Society, where you had like to collect pets, and those right now, of course, don't seem as like games because it's a social hub, but you are getting rewarded, you are getting incentives to progress in the life. So yeah, it still applies what we were talking about.
Right.
Yeah. I have a bunch of other very interesting topics to bring. Yeah. So did you guys know?
Go ahead.
Maybe you already saw it in Roblox about the Walmart and Roblox collaboration, where you can buy physical items through Roblox. I don't know if you heard about that. So
Yeah.
basically, what happened is that it's a test, right? It's only happening through the most of May, but they are breaking a big barrier for companies, which is something that has been very interesting for big companies to do, but it hasn't been done yet. So basically, Walmart developed an API where users can buy digital items, and later on they receive a physical item through their mail. So, and the process is like extremely simple. You just go add your like credit card details, do like a simple checkout process, and immediately after you hit checkout, you receive your digital item, and then later on you receive like the physical thing on the email, which to me is, I don't know, extremely impressive, to be honest, because it really hasn't been done.
It's interesting
Daniel,
that you
you wanna
mentioned
add to
that these we're also in one of the future episodes. We're talking with the studio created this experience. So
Oh
that's,
yeah,
I've seen it a lot.
You're going.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking with the Sawhorse.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, digital
Yeah.
twin is the next start. Oh, okay. That's right. Yeah. I was also thinking, because I was trying to prepare, topics to bring to you guys to discuss. I think that it would be nice if we talked about social hubs and how they sometimes work and sometimes they're like huge failures. Yeah.
Well, I keep talking about the one of the examples I talk about when I talk about the 3D internet is that social your social media page will turn into a Facebook apartment. I don't know if Facebook will have it, but somebody will come up with an apartment type thing where it's a social space that you can decorate to fit your decor, and there'll be all kinds of items you can add. And you can have your friends over. Again, I think that some of that is going to be small interactions, just like chatting, but then other parts of it will be sharing, like a poker night as an example of a game you would play together, or just listening to music, or even streaming a movie together. But I think the version that I envision is going to allow you to have whatever avatar that you have other places. I keep on talking about my purple gorilla being the avatar that I'll walk around the metaverse as. And then I'll sit in my apartment, and Daniel will come over and we'll play cards, or we'll watch a movie, or I'll have him listen to some music that I like in my apartment. And he can look at the pictures on the walls that'll be pictures of my family or anything else I might put on my social media page. And then we can jump from my apartment to his apartment. In that is the opportunity for brands to have, like, if Daniel were to walk over to my refrigerator, open it up and see Red Bull in my refrigerator, clicking on it would bring up either a purchase site for him or a coupon site, or even launch him to the Red Bull site if he wants to go there from my apartment. So there's also link-ins, and I do the advertisement thing not just as not as a crass kind of, this is this I need to commercialize the world, but we talk about the 3D internet having to pay for itself. Like, we have our costs using YOM, you can come down quite a bit lower than have a central server run it. But even then, you're going to want to, in a YouTube type model, allow for advertising to pay for all the network costs, and so you don't put it on the player at all. I wouldn't want to have. I don't think I would pay to be on Facebook, right? But Facebook pays for itself by ad revenue, and probably also information selling, which I probably would try to steer myself away from. But we can think of a world like this, that advertisement would pay for everyone to have that 3D apartment because you've put Red Bull in the refrigerator, or you've put up a poster for I don't know, a Monster Energy drink or something like that in your apartment, and every time it gets viewed, a little bit of money is generated for you and then for Monster as well.
Yeah. You're going to need to receive a lot of visitors in your apartment to make it count, with the Red Bull poster. Yeah.
Or they have to be in many different apartments, right? If they make their
Oh,
poster really cool, and it doesn't even have to be a poster. It could be a video clip that you hang up on your wall, right? A commercial that you could. Actually, that's a different conversation, but it could be like a commercial that's playing over and over again. And again, for Red Bull, if they're in 1,000 apartments, that's pretty good for them. Or if they're in 20,000 apartments, better. 100,000 apartments, better. Right?
It's great. It's great. Yeah. It's great because, again, companies are going to be reaching potential clients through places that right now they are not reaching.
Right.
So it's very interesting for companies. Of course, the challenge is how to onboard the next, let's say, million or billion users to platforms that would get engaged by this. But yeah, it's a very, 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 very interesting concept. Yeah. I would like, I don't know, Dan, if you can show like a bit of the clip that we did for the social hub. So I have a very interesting use case for a social hub that we did for a company fair that is going to be launched. Sure. I think it's going to be launched in July. No, this is not it.
This is the one, right?
That's it. Yeah, so we did this company fair. It's going to be shown in Brussels NFT, the Web3 event. And all the brands that you see here are going to be present in the social hub in a time constraint. It's not going to be open like forever. It's going to be open for this event and in between certain hours, which I think
when is the event?
Launches your. Sorry.
When is the event?
Sorry. It's July. I don't remember the dates exactly. But yeah, but it's going to be in July. I don't recall right now the date. But the concept for this, to me, it's very interesting because all of these brands, they're going to have representatives being able to capture all the people that are going to jump into the social hub, and if they have questions, or if they want to, I don't know, get something from them, it's a great way to connect. Of course, I've seen many social hubs fail, because if you launch social hub without a community or without a purpose, it's not going to be very successful. But in this particular case, where you have a place, you have a purpose, and you have interesting incentives inside of the hub, of course it's going to do really well. We will share the numbers with you guys later.
Awesome.
Yeah, and again, this is a good example of constraining by time, right? Have it open only a certain amount of time. It's also a nicely sized world for the crowd that to draw in. So you've got again, it's a better version of having people online at the same time and socializing, as opposed to a big open world.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, what I also like, with
Yeah.
online events is, when you do it like a video call, you can't really network, right? Or it's really hard to do. And with in a 3D world, you can just go sit somewhere with some people and just chat with them.
Yeah.
This is on the
in this
Sandbox, right?
case, this is the Sandbox. Yeah. This is the Sandbox. But we don't only develop on Sandbox, we developed in basically all the platforms. Yeah. What is the event about? Brussels NFT is a Web3 event, and this is a company fair. So companies are trying to recruit through this social hub.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's very
I'm gonna
interesting.
replay. Yeah. So
Sure.
what's also interesting, now I want to go back to like the platforms that are now most popular among brands, right? So that's basically Roblox and Fortnite. So what do you think? Like, why do they matter? What's the uses that they have, and when can you call an experience on these platforms like a fun experience? Is that we've been
Why?
into it a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Why do they matter? For me, why do they matter to companies? Because as I said in the past, so Roblox average user age is between like 14 to 24, let's say. And they are spending up to 80% of their free time in games. And between 14 and I think it's 18, they're spending like a lot of their free time in Roblox. So you're reaching an audience that you wouldn't be able to reach any other way, because streaming platforms don't really allow you, or it's very expensive to do an ad in a certain way.
So
If you're
far,
going to so far
that's where we come in. But go ahead.
so far, yeah. Instagram ads and Facebook, and people are trying to and the younger audiences are trying to run away from traditional advertisement. It's not really appealing anymore, and people are not getting influenced anymore. So having an engaging branded space, immersive space for your brand, it's like the way to go. You raise awareness about your brand immediately. If I were to launch a clothing brand and I had $60,000 for marketing, I would put those $60,000 into developing a Roblox game, because you have something that's constantly there, that has people engaged, in your constrained space, seeing constantly your brand. So it's a very, very easy way to raise awareness. I think it was the Nike experience that had like 40 million visits. I think it was
Nike they did a killer job on theirs.
Alo Yoga, which is very popular, like very popular sports, let's say, wear, and it's very popular amongst women. I think their experience got 150 million visits, which is honestly a lot and very hard to get through other in other ways, you know. So yeah, for me that's the most interesting, let's say, reason on why to develop on Roblox.
What I was saying before was that it's a great Roblox and Fortnite experiences are a great starting place. I think they prove out the idea that to reach that demographic of consumers, having a 3D experience is going to be probably the best way to do it, because as you're saying, that's where entertainment has gone. You know, we say all the time that games have outpaced movies and music combined. You know, they did it years ago as far as revenue generation, and that's where people are spending their leisure time. So I think that those two platforms is a good starting point when because but it still has that constraint, right? You have to download and play Fortnite or install Fortnite or Roblox. You have to have a machine that can run those experiences. Fortnite more difficult than Roblox. And what we're expecting is going to happen to make the 3D internet have the reach that it really needs to reach for this to be more universal. It has to have an ability to host these kinds of experiences on a normal PC through a web browser, because again, that's where everybody is. There are people who are already playing games inside of, they have a powerful enough machine to run them, but the vast majority is they don't have those machines. You think of all those kids who were given a PC from their school, like they're not powerful enough to run Facebook on, but they do the schoolwork on it. But it has a web browser, right? So if you have a network like the type that we're talking about building here at YOM, you can take those experiences and put them, make them available through a website. But the Fortnite and Roblox versions have already paved the way. They've proven out to these brands that this is an important thing to do, because that's where the consumers are, and it's helped raise, like you said, Nike was a great experience it was a good experience for Nike, right? They raised, and Gucci has kind of done the same type of thing. They've raised their Q quotient, or their perception to their consumers, just based on having or not maybe just based, but largely based on what they've done in a 3D world in Fortnite. So we would do this. We would suggest that they try the same thing, just have a wider funnel.
I'm also curious about these experiences. These huge successes like Nikeland, for instance. Is it like simply built and they will come? Create like an awesome world, or is there a lot of marketing involved? And how? So Juan, like if you create an experience, like how much goes into marketing, or how do you get people to go there, basically?
I mean, of course, in everything that you do in life, when launching something, marketing is going to be one of the most important pillars. And of course, a company like Nike poured a lot of money into marketing their Roblox experience. That's like definite. That's what definitely happened. But still, I see it as adding to your marketing strategy, as the current marketing strategy that company have. For example, because if you're going to launch, Nike is going to launch their new kids collection, well, then it totally makes sense that you do a Roblox experience or a Fortnite experience where the objects that you sell are, let's say, the objects that you're going to sell physically. Also, if your collection is if your collection's aesthetic is denim, then you're going to do every object inside of the experience following that aesthetic also, because it brings awareness to what you're doing. So yeah, I also see and have seen in many many games developed for clothing brands specifically, misses on marketing opportunities. So I've seen, for example, companies getting developed really beautiful spaces, but then not integrating the progression of the user with the objects that they sell in real life. For example, for me, it makes sense to airdrop, let's say, a very cool jacket to the user that followed the progression correctly and reached level 10, let's say, and then also selling that jacket IRL for the kids or the adolescents to buy. And then, it brings awareness in many other ways, because then, for example, they reach the level 10, they get that airdropped, they use that in digital environment, and then they go to school with the physical thing, and they're like, yeah, I got it here, and I've got it like on this digital environment because I reached level, I don't know, let's say 10. And I say this because when I went to high school, we used to play GTA 5 a lot, and we used to just flaunt like, hey, I'm level 175, and and I've got like this much money, and how much money do you have? Like, what's like, do you have this car? And I think that they're missing on this social aspect of developing experiences.
I will tell you, Daniel, my son plays a lot of Roblox, and as far as branded experiences goes, sometimes he's hyped up about them, and sometimes he's like he's rolling his eyes, going, "I can't believe they tried to make a world like that." He saw the advertisement for Netflix is doing a couple of them, and I know he's a fan of one of the properties that they're working on, but I think that he was less excited about that one than he was to other experiences, which it kind of surprised me. And I mean, it's just one kid who has got a cynical bend to him because I've given him, the speech about
One
be
Piece,
careful about
maybe.
impulse items. Yeah. It could have been One Piece. Yeah. So I think that he again, once he experiences it, he might completely change his mind and thinks it's an awesome thing. So I don't know that it's automatic, but it certainly is a worthwhile experiment for many brands to at least consider the idea of using a 3D world to reach their audience, because, like you say, that's where the audience is already.
Yeah. Definitely.
Interesting.
Definitely.
I see a question also from Sarah. What's your opinion on spatial?
Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Juan.
For me, it's
okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
great. It's great for social hubs. That's my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that I've experienced it a whole bunch myself, but I'm sorry, Daniel, I talked over you.
Yeah, well, I like the convenience of, it's very easy to set up a world, and then what I also like, I like VR, right? So I can put up my headset and go into the space and meet up. The only thing is, I've encountered many times the limits of, when you get a lot of people in your room, there's gonna be glitches and weird stuff happening, like randomly, like two instances of the world are created, even though you're not at the limit of the max amount of users. They're still buggy. But I was recently at an event by the Web3 doers. That's also a LinkedIn community. And it was really nice, just to sit. It's nice, you're just sitting in this beautiful spring world, and with your VR headset, and you're just listening to people. Even though you can argue, like, if someone's presenting something or you're mainly listening, what's the added value? But it's still a cool experience, in VR to just sit in this auditorium world, and see people just having a conversation. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Basically.
And you guys have both heard already my big rant about this. I have Quest 2. I love my VR headset. I've developed at one time. I had a VR project on just about every headset that was out at the time. So I developed a lot on VR. As much as I love it, I still feel like it's a few steps ahead of where the current audience is. It's not like the experiences aren't awesome, because I've been blown away by the experiences. I think it's still a social aspect to, like, I don't do it anymore. I don't put my VR headset on when the family's home, because if to them, I might as well have just left the building in their minds. It's very isolating, and it kind of offends them a bit. And I get it, right? If I'm playing a game on the computer, they can look over my shoulder, watch what I'm doing. I can still talk to them. It doesn't feel as interruptive as it does if I'm got my VR headset on and they're trying to interrupt or talk with me. So I think there's still that aspect that we haven't kind of crossed that bridge yet, which is why I think it's, a further step away from the metaverses that I envision in the near term. But again, that takes nothing away from VR. I absolutely love it, and still continue to use my headset when no one's home.
Yeah. I assume the same happened with cell phones when they first came out. I assume it wasn't seen very nicely that you were using your phone whilst with other people.
It's still that way, right? If you're at a dinner party and everyone's looking at their phone texting, don't you get a little bit like, hey, aren't we supposed to be like talking with each other?
Yeah. But I don't know, like if we are in the office and you're doing something and I'm like on my phone, you're not going to think like, hey, this guy
It's not that,
why is
right?
on his phone? But if I see someone like with their VR headset, maybe I'm going to think like, hey, what's this guy doing? So yeah, I can't really
Nice.
tell about how the cell phone things were because I wasn't alive. But yeah. Is Walk About Golf a mini metaverse?
I'm not familiar with Walk About Golf.
I haven't tried it.
I don't know.
Curious
that,
now, though.
No, again, I think just don't conflate the term metaverse with open world game, right? And that's the danger that I think we kind of, the trap we fell into. Open world game, there's a lot of them. Grand Theft Auto, fantastic open world game, not a metaverse really. Matthew Ball, in his book, he kind of says it's not a bunch of different metaverses. It's a single metaverse in the way that we say it's the internet, right? There's one version of it, and that's I think maybe because his book is the book that I read first on the topic, but I kind of subscribe to that myself as well. There's a metaverse, there's an internet, right? And then all the different projects will tie into that one metaverse in the way that all the different websites tie into one internet. Now, I don't know that everyone agrees with that, but that's kind of where my head is when people ask me that question.
Yeah. Waiting for the iPhone moment for VR. Yeah, I'm waiting for the iPhone moment for VR. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, Dan, you're a huge VR guy, right?
Oh,
sorry,
you're
I was
muted.
Yeah. Well, huge VR guy. Yeah, I really enjoyed. It's so I haven't tried out that many. I'm not a gamer actually. I just really enjoyed Alt Space. Basically, it's very specific, but it's very similar to Rec Room also a bit and VR chat. What I liked about Alt Space was very much it's so easy to set up an event, and it was very nice for organizing events. Um, and with VR chat, it's very technical, I think, or it's just a lot of steps to go to, to find each other in the same room and to manage the event. It's a lot of hassle, or at least that's what I think. So, but I'm curious about the Apple vision, of course. that also takes away the blocking, you know, or the blocking yourself out from the rest of the people in the room, of course, you know, with the see-through glasses, or at least that people can see your eyes. So yeah, time will tell if that's the iPhone moment.
Mm.
but,
Yeah. I think that we are missing, and it happens a lot, you know, with every industry. We're just missing iteration, right? So something happens once, and some big companies launch a product. We get used to that a bit. There's a lot of friction. And then a second threat comes, you know, friction is not as high as it was, as it happened with cell phones, as it happened with computers, as you know, and then it gets integrated into our day-to-day life. Of course, there's people that don't need to integrate it a lot because of their lifestyle. But for example, for me, it would be really cool to right now be having this conversation, seeing you guys like sitting in the at the table that I'm sat right now.
I would be a big purple gorilla, just so you know.
Yeah, okay. you wouldn't be Jeff.
No,
You would be
no. My virtual avatar is going to be totally in overalls
totally,
and white t-shirt.
totally different. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. You're going to be very different. Yeah. I mean, and that's also very cool because it allows people to live however they want, and if they want to live like two lives, you can without getting judged and without
Right.
hurting anyone. So it's great.
Yeah, I think that's a nice
Yeah.
future vision to end our LinkedIn live right here. So yeah, I want to thank everyone for joining this conversation. You know, the hour went by really fast. So thanks a lot, Juan, for sharing your vision on the whole metaverse development, and also talking about your own experiences, you know, with Metatheory. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I want to thank you as well, Jeff, for joining me as the co-host.
Yeah. Thank you again, Daniel.
Yeah, it was really nice to hear your thoughts as well. And everyone that showed up, you know, a lot of questions in the comments. So yeah, really cool to see how excited everyone is. So yeah, we do this every 2 weeks. End of May, we have another one with Exclusible. So it's on 29th of May. So yeah, make sure to sign up or RSVP on LinkedIn for that one as well. And yeah, I hope to see you all. You know, just keep exploring the metaverse, basically. Yeah, I wish you all a very nice day.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you everybody for attending. Thanks, Juan. I
All
appreciate it.
right. Bye bye. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.